Welcome to another episode of Judge for Yourself. From the Rugby World Cup in 1995 to South Africa's hosting of the World Cup in 2010, sport has managed to unify South Africans across racial lines, or at least arguably so. But if our national teams are not truly representative of our demography of the country, the unifying factor sport may not be as long-lasting as we expect. Now, earlier this year, the Minister of Sport threatened to implement race quotas within all our national teams. This was then retracted after he was met with serious resistance from sports federations. This is a really interesting question. At the end of the day, sport to some extent does reflect the country in so many different ways. And our country and its constitution, which enshrines issues of freedom, dignity and equality for all, clearly should be concerned, like all parts of the country, with the fact that our institutions represent the demography of the country as best they can. Now, if you'd like to join this debate, particularly in relation to sport, you can use Twitter, you can use the hashtag JFY Quotas. To discuss this topic, we're joined by Zolan Nkomar, the Secretary of the Soweto Rugby Club, Liz McGregor, a journalist who I might add recently wrote a book called The Springbok Factory, and Alec Murmy, the Director General of the Department of Sport and Recreation, Cape Town. We are joined by Peter de Villiers, the former Springbok rugby coach. But before I begin, let's just have a look at what the Minister of Sport said when he explained his reasoning behind a stronger push for transformation.
How we undertake the mission of realizing equity and access. That's what is fundamental. And in this particular instance, the quotas are a stick in where we realize that there is a resistance. And that is not the only thing. The question that we put before the Federation is that you fail to transform, there will be consequences. Deregistering, withdrawal of national colors, and also redefining the funding model in terms of the consequence of failure to implement transformation.
DG, that's a pretty firm statement.
No, certainly. Look, I think just a slight correction. We are not speaking about imposition of racial quotas. I think that has to be clarified from the onset. We are saying that we have inherited quotas. Quotas have been there since 1994. Then it was an agreement by the entire sports sector that this would have to be done as the whole of society was transforming. But this was a single dimension issue, and we only counted how many black faces are actually playing on a field, and we thought that that was counterproductive. The current ministry, led by Fikile Mbalula, had called for the scrapping of quotas, in effect. But the National Sport and Recreation Indaba, held in 2011 in November, argued that there was still a place and a role for quotas. So,
well, what is he saying here in the quote that we just listened to?
Look, we are saying that we have a multi-dimensional scorecard now. We have a transformation charter signed to by all federations, agreed to by all sports stakeholders, and this multi-dimensional scorecard does not only measure racial quotas.
You're the Soweto rugby team. I mean, let's talk rugby, man. We've got the ex-Springbok coach. We've got somebody who writes books about this.
Yeah.
I mean, what do you say?
I think I'm not going to speak only maybe from the Soweto Rugby Club point of view.
No, I'm not suggesting you do. I'm asking you, but you obviously have experience about this.
I want to extend, because I'm also serving as a secretary for a group of club chairmen and players in the country from the rural areas and from the townships. It's called the Transformation Rugby Coalition. I'm comfortable at the moment to say that the position that the DG just made now, to say that they were not speaking mainly on race quotas, because I think as that group we do reject the race quotas, but we do believe in conditional quotas, of which when you say conditional quotas...
What's the difference between race quotas and conditional quotas?
The conditional quota here, there's a whole lot of issues that needs to be dealt with. Firstly, we looked at the issue to say that what are the problems that have caused us, maybe mainly one, to regress. I'm glad that he mentions the sports indaba in 2011. But the sport unity talks in the country took place in 1992. And there were agreements and there were reforms that everyone agreed to.
What kind of reforms are we talking about?
Structural reforms, meaning that we need to look into one, make sure that in the townships or in the rural areas, there's facilities, adequate facilities. Then we look into, in terms of social issues within communities, because remember, after 1992 National Sport Unity Talks, then we started moving into an era of professionalism in sport in South Africa.
I got you. Peter, you were the coach of the Springbok rugby side, and I'm interested in your attitude as to whether you thought that we were doing enough or whether the side required to reflect the country's demography, its colour, much more than it did.
Yeah, Just, thanks for the opportunity. When SARU announced that they wanted to bring a quota system in with the Vodacom side, I was against it, because there was no way that you can label black players to play in a lower level. When I was a coach, nobody supported me. Nobody gave me guidelines. Now SARU and the coach now have clear guidelines from the minister. If you can measure something, then you can improve it. And we don't need to work against each other as coaches. We need to work for one specific goal, and that's for the country, so that everybody outside there respect us for what we are. And I can tell you now today that what I found in my time is that there's not a racial, a black and white fight in this quota thing. It's a kind of a cultural thing that some people try to protect. And to me it was a difficult thing, because nobody gave me a guideline, and I'm so happy that there's a guideline now, so now people can work towards a goal and measure themselves against it. I mean, 20 years down the line, and we're still where we were 20 years ago.
Sorry to interrupt you. Can I ask, what do you mean by a cultural thing? If you could just explain that briefly.
Yeah, if you, I coach all around the show especially in rugby. What they do is that they will allow only 2, at the most 3 black players in a white side. So now the black players need to become white first. They first need to take on that culture. They actually, when they leave that team, they don't know who they are, and when they come back, they can't behave themselves towards that kind of culture that's been created in the team. And that's why people always say that the black people can't behave themselves or they don't fit in, is because they didn't have the freedom of how they grew up to live in that. When I saw it in my junior sides, when we had a 50-50 and sometimes 60-40 black percentage in the team, then the guys were so happy to be with each other, the singing, the being of themselves, and then with a starting lineup of 9 black people, we won a World Cup in 2005. It's just because people were so free to express themselves, and we all could go to the next level. But since then, people stopped the natural growth and evolution of our country by protecting a culture.
Thank you very much. I have to take a break, and then I want to come to Liz McGregor if I may, but let me take a break first.
News that moves. ENCA.com.